Today's episode is brought to you by Audible. Squat wisely with a brand new audiobook. Visit http://www.audibletrial.com/squat and get a free audiobook with your 30-day trial membership.
She is a passionate philosophy professor,
fitness professional,
and motivational speaker. She helps strengthen the body, but she also helps strengthen the mind.
The mind?
The mind.
For well over a decade, she has led philosophy courses within the university system of Georgia.
She leads group fitness classes in Atlanta,
as well as leading one-on-one personal training sessions. Let's all squat wisely with Kristen Hester.
I am back once again for another episode. Today, guys, I am excited about the guest that is going to be on the show today. He is the man behind a Facebook page that is probably one of my favorite Facebook pages that I've ever followed. The name of the Facebook page is Before5am. Again, that's Before5am. Some of you may think about the Army when you hear that. At least that crossed my mind when I first stumbled upon the page. The Army has that slogan where they talk about doing more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. Of course, they're speaking more in terms of a, labor workload type situation. But the Before 5 a.m. Facebook page deals more with doing more for yourself before you even greet the day, to kind of, get yourself focused. One thing about life, I think on the last episode, I talked about things coming in to disrupt your flow, those interruptions that you never plan for. And a lot of times the way we deal with those interruptions is not the healthiest, because when something springs up into our life that we weren't prepared to address or even think about, we don't always have the best response. And I think some of that has a lot to do with how we begin the day, how we start the day. I'll admit, I love naps, I love sleep, but I also see the value in purposing to rise early, because just as it is difficult to rise early, it helps you to face the difficulties in life when you rise early. When you acknowledge the fact that, I intend for this day to be great, but I know that something may come up to try to distract me from that. When you enter each day with that type of mindset and you prepare yourself for the good that's down the road, as well as the unknown that may not be so good that's down the road, you are actually better for whatever life will try to, throw you off guard with. Years ago, Oprah Winfrey had a guest on her show, a lady, you can look her up. Her name is Marianne Williamson. And it stood out to me, and this interview was years ago, because, Oprah has been off the air with her, daytime talk show for a few years now. But this was even years before the show came to an end. And she was speaking with Marianne Williamson, and Marianne Williamson was kind of talking about, the importance of how we start our day. And she made the point about how, life is hard, but when we start the day with purpose, it's not as hard. So even though things can come into your life to try to distract you, to disrupt your flow, if you begin with the intention that that's something that might happen, then it won't be as hard, because before you even allow yourself to greet the day, you've already anticipated what could go wrong. And it doesn't create a negative mindset. It actually creates a prepared mindset. When you're better prepared, you respond better. You handle information better. Your reactions are better when you enter the day better prepared. And rising early for many people gives them that approach to the day so they can handle anything that comes their way in a manner that is going to be successful versus stressful versus in a way that you would be disappointed with yourself. all because you began the day anticipating what could go wrong. So you could have the powerful shift to accept it with grace. All right. So guys, stay tuned and prepare to consider your own before 5 a.m. journey. I mean, we can consider it together because I am not that early of a riser, but I do see the benefit and I do see how it can help and serve my life in a way that I will be more pleased with the way I approach the day, the way I greet the day, and the way I respond to those things that are not always the most favorable that I'm not prepared for. So if you come back, maybe you'll actually get some nuggets of wisdom that will help you to face the day early and with purpose. All right, stay tuned.
Get a world-class motivational speaker to your next event. Kristen Hester offers professional speaking services in Atlanta, Georgia, and beyond. To hire Kristen, visit www.kristenspeaks.com. Kristen.
You are listening to the Squat Wisely podcast, and today we have an amazing guest. We have the man who is the brilliant mind behind the Before 5 a.m. Facebook page. His Facebook page is filled with motivation, wisdom. He encourages you to attack your day and to attack it early. His wisdom today is going to set our lives on fire. Please welcome Mr. Joe Duncan. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, Krista, it's great to be here, great to be with you, and great to hang out with everyone.
Awesome. So, Joe, tell us, who is Joe Duncan, and also let us know, how did your Before 5 a.m. journey begin?
Yeah, well, I'm still trying to work out who Joe Duncan is, but other than that, Joe Duncan's a guy from Sydney who had a dream when he was young to help lots of people, and he had a gift and a talent. But it took me many years to get to the point where I could actually feel confident enough and go through a journey of life to the point where I could actually use those gifts and talents I had. At the age of 17, I had cancer, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it. And I made a little promise to myself then that, look, if I get better, I'm going to go out there and change lives and do what I was born to do. Granted, it took about another 15 years or so, maybe a bit more than 15 years or so, before I finally made that decision. You know what, man? You can keep doing everything else, or you can do what you're born to do. You can go and play the game of life with your gifts and talents. And I just said, you know what? That's it. So I cut everything off and started Before 5 a.m. And that was the best decision I've ever made.
You know, the thing about being an early riser, it takes a lot of focus. That's actually one of the keywords in my tagline, where I say the podcast is about a powerful mix of fitness, focus, and philosophy. And even though it takes a lot of focus to rise early, it actually produces a lot of focus when we rise early. But the key to get there is discipline. So, Joe, give us some insight on how did you discipline yourself to rise before 5 a.m.?
Yeah, you know, it's all about discipline at the end of the day. You know, the whole movement, the whole concept is all about preparing your body to be disciplined. But when I started out, I didn't realize that. I was just like, man, I got to get up earlier. I remember I'd have to hop in the shower at about 6:30 in the morning to go to my day job. So I would wake up at about, I don't know, like normal people, just after 5 o'clock. And I realized, hang on, I'm not getting a proper workout in here. By the time you roll out of bed, by the time you brush your teeth and freshen up and put your gym gear on, you know, there's 15 minutes gone, no matter how you cut it. No matter how good you get at it, it's 15 minutes, no matter. And trust me, I've worked on trying to improve that time. It never changes. So I realized, all right, if I'm going to get a full hour for myself, I'm going to work on my body, my mind. I'm going to work on hitting the gym or meditating, whatever it is. I want to give myself the maximum amount of time. So I would wake up just a bit before 5 a.m. And eventually I realized, hey, it's really quiet around here. It's a great time to get into it. And before you know it, it's 4:30 and 4 a.m. And I had to train myself to be disciplined to do that over a long period of time. It's not something which ultimately just happens overnight. And I think that's where I get so many questions, as you've seen. Joe, how do I wake up early? How do I be more disciplined? Well, you know, we're talking about breaking a pattern which you've run for most people 20, 30 years, 40 years. So you can't expect to break that pattern in a week. You can't expect to break it in a month. So, but discipline often comes, as I say, 90 days to 180 days before you find that the rhythm. So that's really where it came from. So I found the discipline by just doing it over and over again. So by being consistent, I found my discipline and my rhythm.
Awesome. You mentioned, getting up and how a lot of people, they do rise early to work out, to run. Tell us a little bit about what is your fitness and health like?
Yeah, my routine is really simple, and something I always cover. And I always say, keep your diet simple and keep your fitness and well-being regime really simple. I think we live in a world where a lot of people have prospered, and this is true for every industry. A lot of people have prospered financially by overcomplicating the world of fitness and health. It's a very simple concept. Look after your body, eat a little bit less. I don't eat that much. Although there are days when I'm out at meetings and I go to lunch and I'll have a dessert, I'll have a cocktail or whatever it is. But 90% of the time my regime is very simple. I wake up in the morning, I work out. If I don't work out straight away and I decide to go into work, then I'll have my green juice straight away, and that'll just be broccoli, that'll be celery, that'll be cucumber, maybe half an apple, but generally vegetable-based green juice and water, so I hydrate my body for the first hour or so. And if I work out a bit later after I've done what I want to work on, then I might hit the gym at 7 o'clock or just go for a long walk. That's usually my morning routine, and I vary it up. So some days I'll work out in the morning, some days I'll go for a long walk. Some days I'll mix the two up. I'll go for a run and a workout. So within a framework, I have lots of different options. And within that framework, I make sure over 7 days or 14 days, I cover all the different things I want to do. So in terms of a diet, very simple. I eat very lean. Most studies point to that 40% of your energy will be taken up by your digestive system. And I think you guys will all know that on Christmas Day, you all feel lethargic, or Thanksgiving, you all feel a bit tired because you just put all this energy into your body, or food into your body, and now it's got to process it. So by eating very lean, eating very clean, and eating small portions, basically you allow your energy levels to blow up completely. So that's why if you look at, and it's a funny one to say, but if you look at a lot of high energy individuals, they usually don't seem to eat too much food. If they do look like they're eating a lot of food, it's usually because they, they're burning it off as well, like bodybuilders and people like that. So that's my regime in terms of diet, which matches my regime for workout. I work out 3 times a day. But when I say workout, only one workout's for my body. The other 2 are for my mind, which is going for walks, being mindful. I might just hit the treadmill if it's wet and cold, or I might hop on a bike, or I might do some push-ups in the afternoon and sit-ups, just to keep myself in the game. And that's how I avoid the old 3 o'clock, nap time as well.
Awesome. You feed so much into your followers just through the wisdom you share on your Facebook page. I want to know more about how can we feed into what you have going on, books, projects. Like, you should have a whole lot of stuff going on because you give so much away through your wisdom. It's life-changing. How can we turn around and invest into you?
I win when you guys win. That's how I look at life. People who make the most of their life and turn things around from very normal situations. Because I think we hear about all these grand stories, right, and the great books and the great heroes which we all follow and admire. But the people who inspire me most are usually the people who follow me and who live somewhat normal lives. And when you guys win, when people who follow me do well, that energizes my soul to no end.
Awesome. When I'm on your page sometimes, I feel like you're reading into my life with some of the things that you post. It's often right on time for something I needed for that day. And, one of the things that we deal with on the Squat Wisely podcast is a strong focus on wisdom. And that comes natural for you because I take in wisdom every time I visit your Facebook page. And I want to know, what is a quote
that you live by. Tell us why you live by it and why it's one we should consider living by moving forward.
You know,